conditions on soil structure. So we've been doing some work looking at sort of a soil survey of structural conditions across the industry. The key challenges in horticultural rotation, it's the combination of frequent cultivations that can weaken soil structure, and also the challenge of often having to work the soil in less than ideal conditions. So we did a survey of 75 fields across 49 holdings from down in Cornwall to up in Scotland, working with SRUC. All sorts of crops, brassicas, carrots, leafy salads, leeks, onions, also perennial crops, so asparagus and soft and top fruit as well. On the annual crops, we were going out twice, going out pre-planting, so in the stubble of the previous crop, and then going out again post-planting. And the reason for that was because the growers were wanting to know how effective their cultivations had been in repairing soil structure as such. And we're doing sort of detailed visual soil assessments, bulk density, pentrometer, etc. In terms of key findings, the visual soil assessment, which was one of the ones we measured, scores soils on a number of different parameters and then allocates them as either good, moderate or poor soil structure. Generally, we were finding that the majority of soils pre-planting were moderate soil structure, and there was a general improvement post-planting. But that wasn't the case in all fields. Some fields there wasn't improvement in structure, and in other fields where operations had been performed in less than ideal conditions, actually soil structure was worse when we went back post-planting than pre-planting. We were looking for the presence of a tillage pan as well. In the annual crops, 63% of fields had a tillage pan pre-planting, and that went down to 42% post-planting. So we were seeing an improvement, but 42% of fields with the tillage pan in these sorts of crops isn't great, and particularly they're crops that suffer from compaction, so there's definitely scope to improve there. One of the things that I found quite interesting about the survey, as well as looking for the presence of a pan, we were also talking to the farmers about what cultivations they were doing, so we could look to match up the cultivations to what we were seeing in the field. Now, sort of just some stats for you here. So we looked at the presence of deep tillage with the presence of a pan, and we found that 35% of the fields were deep tilled with a pan, okay? 27% were not deep tilled and didn't have a pan. So as such, 62% you could say were getting it right, but 10% were deep tilled with no pan, so that was unnecessary, and 29% were not deep tilled when they did have a pan. So as such, 39% could have done better. And it kind of highlights the importance of visual soil assessments and looking at your soils and then modifying your cultivations accordingly. Now, the majority of growers did say that they did visually inspect their soils, but also more than half of them also said they would like more information to feel more confident in assessing their soils. So there were some quite interesting sort of stats that came out for that, and just also to highlight, AHDB Horticulture just published a soil management guide for horticulture, which has got some of the key results from the project and some of the case studies we've done.
Thank you. Questions for Lizzie? Good. Well, not good, sorry.
I guess what we should say, if anyone's trying to follow the schedule, is that we have had to change things around because some of the crops have been harvested. So if you're lost, that's why.
Which field should we be going in?
Right, try and keep an eye on the time. Okay, we're going to just go into this field here and